as most large Halloween retailers are either starting to trickle in their Halloween merchandise or, as in some areas of the country, restock and primp their shelves, this is the perfect time for us to talk about the phenomena of Halloween reselling. For those of you who don't know what Halloween reselling is, don't worry, I will catch you up in this video, and for those of you who are well aware, we are going to take a deep dive into this subject. Welcome back to The Haunted Haven. If it's your first time joining me, thank you for being here. Today we are diving into a phenomena that has been haunting the Halloween shopping community for many years now. It's the phenomena of online sellers going into stores, grabbing up all the Halloween items they can see and reselling them online. This is the second video in a series that I'm titling Code Orange Hysteria, and this is going to be talking about the overlap between celebrating Halloween and consumerism / overconsumption. The previous Code Orange Hysteria video that I did talked about our unhealthy shopping habits and the dark side to the Halloween shopping season. If you haven't seen that video, please go check that one out after this video. I will link it in the show notes below. But this video in particular, we're going to take a deeper dive into something that happens because of the hype of Halloween and because of the viral status that certain items get. So let's jump into this topic of Halloween reselling and what it does in the Halloween community. So first things first, what is Halloween reselling? Well, I kind of already told you about it. It's when people go into stores, buy up stock, and resell it online. It seems that every year, as soon as the Halloween decorations hit the shelves, this sort of frenzy begins, and people start posting about, hey, it's Code Orange, things are in stores, taking pictures of shelves and posting videos of must-have items, and I have to admit, it is really fun. And I even partook in this in previous years. But what happens when these decorations are snatched up by people for the sole purpose of being sold online? Many of these items end up here, on online marketplaces. Resellers buy up popular and in-demand decorations in bulk and then list them at outrageous prices. For example, the $60 blow mold now costs $120. By the way, while I was researching viral Halloween items, I came across this decoration, this blow-up decoration from Wayfair, and I just wanted to point out that Wayfair thought that this would be a good idea. Anyway, let's get back to what I was saying. How does this happen? How does it happen that people can go into stores, buy things up, list them online, then they will sell for double or triple what they cost in the store? The answer is in, of course, supply and demand. Everybody's familiar with that term, but when supply is low and demand is high, the price of things can go up. So the task of the reseller then is to have their pulse on which items are going to be most in demand. Now, an argument could always be made that social influence has been around, it's been existing. People could drive past each other's houses and see the decorations on their lawn and go talk to their neighbor and say, hey, where'd you get that? I really like that. And of course, trends are not just a thing that is pertinent to social media. Fashion trends have been around for as long as humanity's been around. Trends are a thing. We influence each other. That just happens. However, I would argue that with the rise of social media, things have become much more widespread, much faster. So instead of just seeing your neighbor or the person at school or the person in your club with this thing, we can just see that much more instantaneously. And in the Halloween community, this has really taken off in the form of viral items. So yes, influence and social influence have always been around. However, social media has heightened these things, and I think that has contributed to Halloween resellers having a better idea of what to purchase, what to buy up, and it has fed into the phenomenon of reselling. Now, I personally haven't experienced the absolute height of reselling that I've heard about online. So I've heard about people's shelves in their stores just being wiped clean of any Halloween products. Like, the resellers just buy everything up. I haven't personally experienced that, but I do know somebody who has. So this is a quote from the Halloween variant, and if you haven't checked out Halloween variant, you really need to. Christian has amazing Halloween memes. I haven't experienced the phenomena of shelves being wiped completely clean of any Halloween decorations, but has that happened around you? And Halloween variant says, yes, oh my god, not just Halloween items. Last year at several TJ Maxx's around me, people fought over Hello Kitty blankets. The same thing with the 12-foot skeletons. I definitely heard about those. They were gone minutes after being put out at my local Home Depot stores a few years ago. The 12-foot skeletons would resell for thousands of dollars, and people would actually pay that much. What I have seen happen in my local stores is that items that reach this kind of viral or highly sought after status are just completely nowhere to be found. They're so difficult to find in store, and it seems they can really only be found online. I want to make a distinction here and say that not all reselling in general is bad, and there's a distinction between just reselling something that you don't use anymore and knowing its value. If it's a valuable item, it's a valuable item, versus buying something with the sole intent of reselling it online. I would argue, and I think a lot of people would agree, that buying something with the sole intent to resell it online is not necessarily an ethical way of shopping. However, I think some people would disagree with me. If I were to put myself in a reseller's shoes, one could make the argument that they are actually providing a service. They could say, well, I am going out, I'm doing the searching, I'm making it my job to find these items, and when I list them online, I'm just charging a finder's fee. This reminds me of the phenomena of personal shopping that if you haven't looked into, it's very interesting. Basically what's happening is people are going into Home Goods and TJ Maxx and they're live streaming themselves in the store, and they are broadcasting to a group of people who are watching them shop. And basically the people in the chat can go, oh, I want that item, oh, I want that item. The person in the TJ Maxx puts it in their cart and then charges that person like a finder's fee. It's very fascinating. Kiki Chanel actually did a whole video on this. I will link the video below. If you haven't checked that out, it is so interesting and so weird, and is such a strange indicator of where we are at this stage in capitalism. It is so bizarre. The argument could be made that Halloween resellers are just providing the same service. They are the ones going out doing the searching, and therefore they are allowed to charge a finder's fee for that thing. This also reminds me of another phenomenon, which is young trendy people going into thrift stores, finding things that other young trendy people would find cool, and then reselling those things on Depop. In fact, this t-shirt is a really good example of that. This is a vintage Halloween t-shirt that I love and adore, but it's something I got on Depop. Don't get me wrong, I love Depop, okay? Like all of this stuff, this is hard stuff because it's multi-layered and tangled. I love Depop. However, I have to question, was this something that somebody just had in their closet, decided they no longer wanted, and decided, you know what, I'm gonna sell it on Depop? Or did they go into a thrift store, pick this thing up for like $5, $6, and then Depop it for $20? Again, you could just make the argument they're just charging a finder's fee, they know when they have something of value, and they just wanted to sell it to make some money. Is there anything really wrong with that? On the surface, no. However, if it is a thrift store and people are going into thrift stores who don't normally have the money to go shopping at the first-hand clothing stores, one also could make the argument that you are taking a piece of clothing from an area where somebody with less means could usually buy their clothing, taking up all of the good items in those stores and then selling them for higher prices online. It's not really fair. I'm not saying one thing or another here. I'm not saying Depop is bad. I'm not saying all of that. I'm just saying there is nuance to all of this, and we could apply the same nuance to Halloween reselling. Now, personally, am I making the argument that reselling is like fine and okay? No, not really. But also, I think I would like to make the larger argument that our consumeristic tendencies in general need to be examined. So this brings me to the final chapter of this video, which is, what do we do, if anything, about this reselling phenomenon? In my last Code Orange video, the argument that I made is that we just need to start thinking and being more mindful and have more vigilance about our shopping habits around Halloween. And this is especially pertinent to anybody who is a Halloween nut and Halloween fanatic like I am. Normally, I just kind of let my desire take me wherever, but I realized that that's not good for my wallet, not good for the planet. It leads to patterns of overconsumption, and that it's something that I really need to examine. And I think that Halloween resellers are just another leg of this problem. We've got people going in and doing mass consumption because they know that there is a desire. There's all this desire there to have these Halloween items. So I think on our part, maybe the first step is to just take a step back and say, do we need this much? Do we need to do this much? If the desire for what the resellers are selling goes away, this phenomena really wouldn't even be a phenomena to begin with. Now, in the Halloween community itself, people have kind of made a band, a deal, and they are saying don't buy from resellers in general. So this is another way, I think, of training ourselves to just deal with FOMO and say, you know what, if I missed out on an item, I missed out on an item. I didn't get it. Oh well. So I think that people within the Halloween community who aren't necessarily saying don't code orange and don't shop, they are saying when it comes to Halloween resellers, cut it off there. Do not give them any money. Do not fall for the hype and the buzz around this. let them sit with their stock, do not buy their stock, and then they're just gonna have to swallow the costs of that. So that's kind of been the approach there. Again, I would argue that we could take that a step further and just say, hey, how much do we really need to be Halloween shopping in general? And if we stop creating these viral statuses around certain items, then it's gonna be, again, really hard for resellers to know what to resell. Another way that we can kind of combat this phenomena is to rely more on DIYing our own projects. Personally, I'm interested in DIYing some things this year, so if you're also interested in DIYing your decorations, please let me know, and I'll think about some things that we might be able to do together on this channel. Let me put it to you, spooky members of the Halloween community. What do you think about Halloween resellers? Do you think there's a place for them? Do you find them to be terrible parasites upon the Halloween shopping community? Or do you think that this is all a very fascinating phenomenon that has arisen out of this very strange time that we're living in? I will see you again soon in the Haunted Haven, and until then, take very good care.